everyone, and welcome to the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host, Marco Callahan, and we got a very special episode for you today because we are talking all things the Batman. But before we light up the bat signal, I want to introduce to you guys our crime fighting panel. First up, we got the lovely Jessica Orr. Jessica, how you doing?
I'm vengeance.
What, Batman? What'd you do with Jessica? And then, lastly, someone who actually sounds like the Batman, Nolan Rosenthal.
I'm vengeance.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm the lovely Noah Rosenthal. But
Yeah, you are. And I am so excited. We finally get to talk about the Batman. Now, we're going to caution you. This is a spoiler cast. Even though we're going to start off with, our history of Batman expectations, we're going to go all things spoiler. So if you are like Kyle Chamillard and has not seen the Batman yet, stop watching. Download the episode. But once you've seen the Batman, come back. Let's chat. Let's have a good time. So I want to start off with you, Jessica. What is your history with Batman?
Well, I suspect this is quite a few people's history, but I was pretty into the animated cartoon when I was younger. It aired with Superman cartoon, so it really got me into them. I really love the old Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher movies. I remember loving them when I was younger, even the cheesy ones like Mr. Freeze and the Penguin, and even the ones people hate. I love it when Batman goes camp. So yeah, and over here in the UK, I don't know if you guys are aware, but Batman's also pretty famous for Del Boy and Rodney dressing up as Batman and Robin in Only Fools and Horses. It's like an iconic piece of British sitcom history. Honestly, that might have been my first introduction to Batman. But yeah, I'm a pretty casual Batman fan. I'm not a huge fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, even though I'm aware that they're good films. They're just not for me.
That is a hot take, Jessica.
It's just they're not for me. We all have those things. I'm a casual.
We all have
Batman
these
fan.
Opinions. What?
Yeah. Weird. So yeah, casual Batman fan. Love the old campy movies and the cartoon.
Side note, because you mentioned Mr. Freeze, because I was just reading up on Batman and Robin, everyone's favorite Batman movie. You know who was, or they wanted to play Mr. Freeze before they got Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
And this would have been great casting in a horrible movie. Patrick Stewart.
Wow. Oh man, he would have brought that.
That would have been fun.
That would have, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is perfect. Again, but that would just be very wasted casting.
Yeah, and he would be, I feel like he made the right move, not saying yes.
I'm going to freeze all of Gotham City, Batman.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. I can't do Patrick Stewart. Damn. No, I didn't know you did Patrick Stewart.
I didn't either. I've never tried.
Great first attempt.
Me, not so much. But Noah, what is your history with the Batman?
So I'm really not a huge superhero movie fan, but I do like Batman. And part of that is like how it's typically done. It's really interesting how certain writers, certain directors kind of take these similar takes on things. Like one of the things that I know is they almost always pair the Riddler with Two-Face. And that's interesting. And both in the recent movie that we just saw, the Batman and the Dark Knight trilogy, they do a great job of maintaining this dark, serious nature. And a big part of that is they don't go too far with the powers, don't focus on that quite so much. And I don't really think that you need to do that to take something seriously. It's more a matter of using your time effectively. Yeah, so there's those. I really like the Dark Knight trilogy. I'd say the Dark Knight is the best, and then the Dark Knight Rises is probably second, and the Batman Begins is still a great movie. Probably is not as good as those two, though. I really like Lego Batman. I had some good times playing that game. That's where it's great to play as the villains. Like Batman has such great villains. That's what makes him and Spider-Man stand out to me as two superheroes I do like, because they have these good villains. And I do like the original Batman starring Adam West. Hey, Robin, the Riddler's out again.
Holy puzzle, Batman.
That's right. Robin was so great.
Say what you want about that Robin. He is very linguistic. I butchered that word. Linguist. He's good with words. He's creative. He's a creative writing manager, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned the Adam West Batman, because I feel like that's how I kind of got introduced with Batman. And it's one of those things like you just see the bat signal or bat like logo, and it's just instantly iconic. But actually seeing the character Batman, I would watch. It was actually on YouTube, super old YouTube, where they didn't care as much as copyright, and they would just have full episodes of Batman.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I saw those too.
So I would just see like these campy versions of like all like the most famous, like the Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, Joker, both versions, and I love the Eartha Cat one. But and then watching the Tim Burton Batman movie, that was mind blowing. The animated one, game changer, and then the Dark Knight trilogy. Oh my god. I remember seeing that in theaters and being like, I'm not ready.
I remember the line for The Dark Knight was, "That's the biggest I have ever seen." It was our local cinema is like on the corner of a shopping like mall. It was all the way on the other side.
Was the subtitle "That's What She Said"?
I don't think so.
People outside the US have that joke.
We do. Michael Scott from The Office introduced me to that joke.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Ben Affleck. Actually, no, this is a hot take. Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman.
Really? That's
Yeah,
surprising.
And you
me.
said my hot take of not liking the Dark Knight trilogy was whoa.
I can get the Snyder Bros right here in this podcast. They'll back me up.
I do like the Snyder cut of Justice League is really good.
It's very good. And say what you want about like the movies, but I feel like Ben Affleck like captured comic Batman really well. To as Christian Bale, like I think was hindered. I mean, he has a fantastic Bruce Wayne. I'm sorry, just the bat suit and the bat voice doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just, do you know those actors where you cannot get down with anything they do? That's Ben Affleck for me. I don't know why. It's irrational.
Yeah,
That's
to me,
fair.
Ben Affleck is like that's who he is. Like whenever you see him in a movie, he's Ben Affleck. It's
Yeah.
a case that's too recognizable to see him as anything other but himself. Like imagine Larry David as Batman.
Greenlight that, Warner Brothers. Greenlight it. But and then what was I going to mention? Shoot! Oh, underrated Batman, Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I agree.
Kilmer, okay.
I just rewatched Batman Forever. Yeah, that movie not that good, but he was probably the best part.
I remember liking him when I was younger. Yeah, he was probably my favorite when I was younger, but I think oh my god, I can't remember. Is it Michael Keaton?
Yeah, Keaton was Batman.
Jeez, just totally blanking there. Yeah, he was my favorite, and it's the only one I forgot to mention this. I haven't watched those Batman films since I was a kid, except for was it the Batman, the first one of his?
Yeah,
Oh no,
just
not
Batman.
Yeah, Batman. That still holds up. That's still a fantastic film. I'm scared to watch the rest.
And then Batman Returns. That's just a great. Since it takes place during Christmas, that's a Christmas movie. Take that, diehard people. I can make anything a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Michael Keaton. Fun fact, he's actually going to return as Batman in The Flash.
I'm excited for that. Yep.
And I guess rumor has it he's going to be like the main Batman.
Oh, like he's like returning?
He's returning, like he's going to be in Batgirl, the HBO Max movie. Because Ben Affleck doesn't want to do anymore. And of course, that's a decision. You can't, if you want to do it, bring him back. If he doesn't, respect his decision, people.
Yeah.
But guess what? We got a new Batman movie. So I feel like, so the history behind this. So the Batman was going to be directed and starred by Ben Affleck until all of a sudden he dropped out of directing. And then it's like, what? Whoa, what's going on? And it's like, no, don't worry. Matt Reeves is going to direct. And it's like, and Ben Affleck's coming, right? It's a Hayden Christensen and Padme meme. And Ben Affleck is coming back, right? Ooh. Because I remember like Matt Reeves, I don't want to say in trouble. He had to backtrack or I guess lie. He's like, no. I don't mean like it's not going to be with the DCEU. I just meant like it's going to be all about Batman. Okay. And then Ben Affleck is like, nah, I'm going to bounce. And then Robert Pattinson got cast. Did you guys have any initial reaction when you heard he got cast?
It was honestly like a okay thing to me. Seen him in The Lighthouse. That's probably the only thing I've seen him in other than and Harry Potter and Twilight. So I was like, yeah, he's a good actor, and I'm always down for like a fresh start, like new Batman. Cool, let's see what he can do. I wasn't like, oh no, not Robert Pattinson.
What about you, Noah?
So yeah, I thought about it and I was like, like as a kid, I was always so critical. So I would have been like, oh, that guy again, like, and I would have said some judgmental, stupid thing. But like as an adult, I thought about it and like, I could see him as Batman. Like, I guess that that works, and he was terrific. I was very impressed. Same. I had seen him in Harry Potter when he sadly dies very, very. Like
my boy.
Yeah, when it comes to Twilight, I didn't see those movies, but I was kind of rooting for the other guy. Like I remember when that was being marketed as does she fall in love with the werewolf or the vampire, and I kind of like the werewolf better because he reminded me of myself a bit more. And I was like, I want
also
the guy that's like me to get the girl.
I mean, I was so excited because have you guys ever seen the movie Good Time?
No.
Or have you guys ever seen Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler?
No.
Okay, first of all, watch both those movies. Those are fantastic. And Robert Pattinson plays in Good Time. He's the shifty guy, kind of like, I don't want to say like a con artist. He's like trying to scheme. So he has a mentally disabled brother that he takes and he tries to rob a bank. Things go wrong and his brother gets arrested. So he tries to break him out. And it's just everything that leads, like it just gets worse. And it's just like panic inducing. But it's like you're on the edge of your seat. Like, what? How is he going to get out of this? Oh, he's going to get what? That was basically my reaction. And it turns out Matt Reeves loved Good Time so much. That's why he casted him. And of course, and then afterwards, The Lighthouse. Love The Lighthouse. Now, have you seen The Lighthouse?
Not all the way through. I think I've seen parts of it. It just like hanging out with people watching it. And I remember thinking, man, this is a really cool movie.
It's so good. I love The Lighthouse. But enough about The Lighthouse, The Batman.
Yeah.
And then all the pieces finally came together. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, brilliant casting. Zoe Kravis as Catwoman, who not the first time playing Catwoman.
Oh, did she do like voice work?
The Lego Batman movie, she was Catwoman.
Okay. Didn't know that. Yeah. It's quite the upgrade.
She was also Mary Jane Watson in Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's just like batteries. I'm just throwing all these fun facts at you.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Or just like the Adam West, like the little comic, like pow, boom, fact.
Yeah. Zoe Kravitz. Yeah.
Holy IMDb Batman. And then what was interesting, it kind of felt like an A24 movie with all the casting. I remember like Jonah Hill was actually gonna be the Riddler, but I guess because of not schedule, but more of like a contract issue. That was a heavy rumor. And then Paul Dano got cast. And I would never think he would want to be in a superhero movie. But I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. And just all the little pieces just came together. And then the first screen test. Do you guys remember the screen tests of when you finally saw Batman?
No.
Nope.
So,
Feel like we're letting you down, Mark.
not the first time. But this was 2 years ago. Matt Reeves dropped this little teaser, and it had actually the first like glimpse of Michael Giacchino's score. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in. And then COVID. Movie got shut down, but even with 25%, they released a first teaser. It was that DC fandom the first time they did it.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah.
Heavy something in the way. Finally got to hear the voice. I'm vengeance. 6 out of 10. That wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And then just all of a sudden, like, we're finally here. We finally saw the Batman. I actually did a review for KeenGamer. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I mentioned a lot of times on the podcast, I don't give stuff at 10 out of 10, but this one, yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 movie. Guys.
Yeah, that was a great review, Mark, because it was good. Well, I suppose they're not going to be watching this. It was a great spoiler-free review. I read it before I went in, and I was like, oh, it's more detective-based. This sounds very interesting. Got me very hyped.
Because, and I definitely agree with Matt Reeves, because a lot of fans, so Batman is also known as the world's greatest detective, but any of the live-action movies, I've never seen that detective element.
Yeah.
A little bit with like the Dark Knight trilogy, but just a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt Reeves is like, I'm really going to bring this detective element into it. And he delivered. So, guys, what is your just initial gut reaction of seeing the Batman? Jessica, let's start with you.
I really, 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 really liked it. I was a bit, maybe other people weren't, but I was a bit surprised that I liked it so much because I wasn't a massive fan of the Dark Knight trilogy. I was like, oh, this is going to be Dark Nolan Batman 2.0. So I had middling expectations going in, and then man, it just captivated me the entire time. The soundtrack and the cinematography and the action scenes just make that whole film for me. Like, I go back and just listen to it. It is so good. The reds they use throughout the film, it's great. It's such a good visual film. It's one of those ones where like you need to go to the movies to see this one. It did feel a little long to me, though. Honestly, not very many superhero movies am I like, okay, this is going on. But then I don't think it's the same movie if it's not that long, because they do spend a lot of the time on the detective elements and like this neo noir feel. Like it really felt like a detective movie. Like you were trying to work it out as well with all the riddles and stuff. So yeah, I think it looks incredible. It sounds incredible. I think Pattinson did a really good Batman. And I just love Jeffrey Wright. Just put Jeffrey Wright in everything. He was great. I love their relationship too. Just you didn't need to explain it before. Just like, they're like, they really felt like detective partners in this.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, I'm just curious that you didn't want like this dark Nolan feeling. And what's interesting, I mean, Matt Reeves, the Batman, is a dark movie. So what kind of separates those two from each other?
Yeah, so it kind of felt like maybe this is bad for some people, but to me it wasn't just, yeah, we're dark, we're gritty, this is Batman. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
it was dark looking and feeling, but it kind of had like this angsty feel to it, like a younger angsty feel to it, and it got a little bit melodramatic sometimes. And I was like, I like this with Batman. When you're looking at it and it looks serious, but like, it's a bit over the top. Like the scenes are just, they go so long sometimes it's almost funny, but I'm like, this is awesome. I love this over the top Batman stuff, because I mean, he's a rich guy in a bat suit beating people up. It's a bit ridiculous, but yeah, they take it, they know it's ridiculous, and yet they don't care, they just go for it. So yeah, I feel like it's a little bit more angsty and melodramatic than the Nolan stuff, which I'm totally fine with. Even if like there wasn't a lot of jokes in this, and I'm completely fine with that. This isn't a Marvel film. This is like Matt Reeves' Batman, and it was cool how they kind of teetered on the edge of being a little over the top, but taking it seriously.
And the thing is, like, not to say this movie doesn't have any jokes. There was some good jokes, like thumb drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like that stuff. Yeah,
That and just like these little instances, like I forget how we pronounce it, but like the interrogation with Penguin
yes, yeah. Hmm.
and like him like what do you guys never took Spanish before?
Yeah, like that stuff to me felt like distinctly like this is Matt Reeves' humor and like the crew, not like we're trying to copy Marvel, like Joss Whedon's Justice League felt to me.
Oh, don't. Well, let's not mention Joss Whedon's Justice
All
League.
right, I'll edit that out.
That's right. Noah, what's your gut instinct after you saw the Batman? What was your reaction?
I guess I wasn't surprised by how much I liked it because I saw it after like a week it had been out. So I kind of knew people really like this movie. There's clearly a reason for that. So yeah, I went in thinking it's going to be good, and it really was. And Pattinson was a big part of that. Like when it comes to comparing different Batman actors, I'm not going to compare him with the Adam West Batman. They're just two very different things. But of the serious Batmans, I'd say he's my favorite. I'd say Pattinson's instantly my favorite of the serious Batmans.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do like in the Dark Knight trilogy that we see him become Batman. Like I like seeing how he learns how to fight. So so I did kind of miss that aspect of it, but maybe we'll get it in flashbacks in the sequel. And yeah, it didn't feel long at all to me. Like it was 3 hours, but 3 good hours did not feel like any time was wasted there. And like you were saying, the casting was terrific for everything. Some names we haven't mentioned yet are Andy Serkis as Alfred. That was terrific. You mentioned the Riddler. I feel like there's someone else we're forgetting.
I definitely miss Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Yeah, he was good as the Penguin. Almost unrecognizable too.
I still can't recognize him.
I went with my two brothers, and one of them just had like he's like no idea about pop culture stuff beyond like Destiny and Final Fantasy. So at the end of it, I asked him, I was like, "So who do you think played the Penguin?" He was like, well, I just thought they were an unknown. Like, who are they?" And I was like, "I'll give you a clue. They're an Irish actor." He had no idea. I said Colin Farrell, and he's like, "What?"
Which shout out to the prosthetics because like Colin Farrell didn't want to gain all this weight for the role, which makes sense. So what they created, because I remember the first time we saw him, and actually this is something interesting that I'll mention like later of how genius Matt Reeves is with misdirections in terms of like the fandom. But I'm gonna put a little pin in that. Seeing Colin Farrell as the first time in the Penguin, it was that DC fandom teaser. And I'm like, who's that guy? Is he supposed to be the Penguin? And then my brother-in-law Tyler is like, dude, that's Colin Farrell. I'm like, no. And then I'm hearing his voice. I'm like, oh, damn. He's so good. And you can definitely see why HBO Max was like, yeah, we want a spinoff of the Penguin.
Yeah, he's very memorable. He stands out even in this awesome film.
So I feel like both of you guys really like the movie. So instead of starting immediately positive, we heard some of Jessica's cons. Noah, what's some of the aspects of the movie that just didn't work for you?
Well, there's nothing that I'd say should contract from your 10 out of 10 review. There of course are a few things that I wish were different. For one thing, the Riddler's costume, I get we're meant to take it a bit more seriously, but I do wish they'd at least thrown the question mark on there somewhere and had him say riddle me this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I do like in The Dark Knight, the Batman Begins, where we see him become Batman, and I kind of miss that here. And it would really be powerful because Pattinson did such a good job portraying the grief of losing his family. So seeing that process would have been powerful. Let's see, one thing I forgot to mention that, I know you asked me what I didn't like. One thing I want to make sure I mention while I'm thinking of it is this is
sure.
my favorite take on Gotham City that I've seen, like the extreme Gothic architecture. That was
Same.
awesome. Yeah.
It was great.
It was somehow Gothic, but like Art Deco a little bit with that, with modernness, and then a lot of 1970s New York City. Which, if you ever hear stories, I definitely heard from my parents, like Times Square now, according to a lot of people, I know I live in New York, I can't say this, it feels like Disney World, but 70s, early 80s Times Square was just disgusting. If you just do your own research of that, I can't really put it justice, but that's what felt like this Gotham to me. Like, somehow, yeah, this place is popular, but no one wants to be here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there are some parallels there. I've heard of like the huge crime rate that was in New York in the 70s. Like, it definitely has parallels with Gotham, and they got that across brilliantly. Even in the I think it was the opening scenes where you're getting a feel of Pattinson's Batman. The awesome music's playing, but he's like, I've been doing this for 2 years, and the crime rate still hasn't changed. Like, it's seeping you in this world right from the start.
Yeah, and just to touch on Noah, I do agree with you. Not that it would be a criticism, but I'm just a big fan of Pattinson's Batman. I want to see year one, and I do respect Matt Reeves for even though I'm one of those people, and I don't know how to phrase this, but I like the scene of the Waynes getting shot down.
You sicko.
I know. I can't be like, you know what I love? Uncle Ben dying. Thomas and Martha dead. Bruce sad. That's no. It's not like really like you can't just like Batman like gliding and fighting crime. It's like, nah, I love the Waynes getting dead.
Best part. 10 out of 10.
I gotta talk to my PR guy. Like, how can I phrase this a bit better?
What do you like about that? Because I'm one of the people who I really don't. And like I've read like one Batman comic series. I'm not too into it. I haven't seen it in comics a lot, but I've seen like we all know the story, so I'm like, we can skip this. Why do you like it so much?
A couple different reasons, and I'm not sick, but it shows how bad Gotham is, which I know sounds weird. I hate the stories of like this was all part of conspiracy to bring down the Waynes. This, if you don't know the basic story, Thomas and Martha take Bruce. Usually, it's the Master Zorro. They're exiting the movie. They take a shortcut, nickname down Crime Alley, and a mugger, usually just his name is Jojo, tries to rob them, shoots them, doesn't kill Bruce, and that is the beginning of his journey. So just as one random mugger changed everything, and how Batman describes it, it's more of a symptom of the disease, and it's a perfect representation of that. And then the second is that the moment when Bruce is dead, or is that the moment wherein Batman is born? A lot of writers take this in several different angles. There was even a show called Gotham that really explored that, which was pretty good. Pretty not good, but good.
Good
Very
for those
maybe on
reasons.
it. Yes. Some of the show really works, some really doesn't, but that's a whole other podcast that we'll never do. Unless you guys wanted it. Hashtag KeenGamer Gotham Podcast. No one's going to tweet that. Just saying. Lots of different things. And it's like, I love a good origin story. And that is either, is that Bruce's origin story or is that Batman's origin story?
Yeah, good take on that, I think.
And not to like jump too far, like I like how they kind of play with this, because it's revealed that Falcone might have sent the mugger, but Alfred's talking to Bruce like, yeah, like maybe like I'm trying to connect the dots, but it's like how I interpret it, it's more of like we're pretty sure that Falcone had the Waynes murdered, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think, like, the way I read it anyways, they kind of left it ambiguous even if his dad was a good guy, a bad guy. Like, I knew they kind of, like, Alfred tried to clear that up while he was in the thing, but I think that's just like his loyalty. It's the way I read it. It's like, no, he's a good guy. He did it because of this. You
Mhm.
know, he still went to that bad guy for help. Like, it's gray, and I like that. I like that they kind of
Mhm.
left it a wee bit. We can all debate like, oh no, I think they meant this. I think they meant that.
And then Matt Reeves is like, no, it was this. And it's like, but that goes against my point.
Did he?
No, not
Oh, okay.
yet.
Not yet. Yeah, I hope he doesn't
I'm
answer.
waiting for that
Yeah.
DVD commentary.
Yeah.
There you
Mhm.
go. But I don't want to say this as a con, but Andy Serkis as Alfred wasn't in the movie as much as I wanted him to be. When he was in the movie, he was fantastic. He definitely felt like Batman's partner. He tried to like veer, like Bruce off this path, but ultimately accepts like this is what he wants to do, and you really can't stop this monster. And the scene of him and Bruce at the hospital, one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, that was good. I feel like that's one of the scenes that, like, sets it apart from, I guess, Nolan's dark thing. Is like they do bring it across, but like this Bruce actually has a heart, and he's realizing it, and
Mhm.
it was a really good way to show his progression from this angsty, angry Batman character to a more compassionate figure.
Because how I kind of saw it is like Bruce thought he had nothing to lose. And then he realized, like, when you see, like, he's driving towards the Wayne Tower trying to rescue Alfred and just like the panic in the voice, like, now he has something to lose.
Yeah, that was a great scene as well. Like, I felt anxious for him, the way they cut that was really good.
So I'm debating on how we should talk about this because there's a lot of good moments in the Batman. Did you guys want to go in order of chronological from the beginning to end, or do you guys want to shout out uh any moments that you love?
Maybe shout out because I'm not the best at remembering the
Yeah, I
order.
say shout out. Yeah.
Okay. You guys didn't see the movie 3 times like I did? Cool.
Why don't you go first, Mark? I'm curious to hear your favorite moments.
I think the Riddler interrogation scene was phenomenal. And you know how I talked, I'm gonna get that little pinpoint that put over here. I'm gonna put it back here. So how Matt Reeves and the whole advertising department kind of play with people's expectations. To the casual like viewer, not I shouldn't say casual viewer, but more of like you saw the trailer a couple times and you're good. And then there's the people that try to pick up every little thing and have it memorized to a T. So I feel like Matt Reeves did that a lot in terms of the trailers and the set leaks. So we see in movies all the time, like it's an unofficial first look of like Bruce Wayne's Batman, but it's a picture that paparazzi took from the set.
Yeah.
I remember because now I'm thinking about it, Colin Farrell, we all thought he would just look as he is now, but with like white hair. And on set, that's how he appeared. And we just, okay, that's our first look of the penguin. That wasn't the penguin.
Hmm.
And we'll definitely, okay, I'm going to put another pinpoint there. Um, I can't pronounce this actor's last name. Um, we also heard the first time Matt Reeves' Joker.
Yes. Has that been confirmed as the Joker? I mean, it really sounded like the
Matt
Joker.
Reeves has officially confirmed that as the Joker to IG.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard it's like I think it was just offhand. I saw some comment that he's introducing him here, but it might not be a while before we see the Joker, or like this is very early stages of the Joker, or whoever this character I thought was.
This is, Joker and like a lot of characters, Penguin, Catwoman. This is the early year 2 stage.
Yeah.
So he also appeared in the Eternals. Great movie, Sacred Killing of a Deer. I think I have the title. Barry Keoghan.
I think it might be Keown. I think.
Keown. I don't know. I know you're listening to this podcast, Barry. My bad.
If it's an Irish name, I think it's Keown.
I don't want to defer to our Irish expert, but Jessica, am I right? Or you're going to say you're Scottish and I'm going to offend you.
No. Well, I'm Northern Irish, but yeah, let's see. If I got it wrong, that's the reason.
But so he was cast as like sergeant, yada, just like a police officer character. And the funeral scene when like Bruce is walking up the steps and he's talking to Falcone, he appears as that character. So it came as a surprise. Well, some speculation that he was going to be the Joker, but it's like, oh, he wasn't going to be the police character. He was going to be the Joker.
I didn't know he was there. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Yeah.
So anyway, going back to the interrogation. So it seems how the trailers put it, like the Riddler knew that Batman and Bruce Wayne were the same. And they definitely like imply that. And then at the beginning, he's just like, Bruce Wayne. And Batman kind of looks ashamed. Like each time he says his name, he looks shell-shocked and he has the camera right there, so he doesn't want to do anything. So he's talking, and I don't want to say Riddler is relatable, because I'm already hot water for saying I like the Wayne's murders. I'm not saying the Riddler is empathetic at all, but it's like, okay, that is his reasons. Cool. It should not do those things. And he's talking about the difference between how the media treated Bruce as an orphan versus everyone in that orphanage, which were treated like shat. And then he mentions, too bad we didn't get Bruce. And Batman's like, whoa. You don't know Bruce Wayne? Okay. And then him finding out about the flooding. Okay, he just knows like there's one final act and he's just pounding on the door. It's so good.
Yeah, that bit where he's just saying Bruce Wayne was really cool as well. Like that gave me chills in the cinema. I was like, this is so well constructed.
I want a Paul Dano version or cover version of Ave Maria.
I wonder if that'll be on the playlist, the Spotify soundtrack.
It wasn't on the official score, but maybe one day.
One day.
We'll 4K petition. DVD bonus feature, perhaps.
Worth it.
So that's one of mine. Noah, what's one of your favorite moments?
Well, first, I want to comment on the interrogation scene. Imagine the Larry David Batman in that scene. Can you tell me? You see, let me be honest about your plan. It stinks.
So, did you have to be that elaborate? I mean, thumb drive? Really? Nah. Paul Dano's like, what? No. What do you mean? It's like, it was a little over the top. Can I just pause for 1 second? I have the perfect casting for Larry David's Batman. You know who should be the Joker?
Seinfeld.
What's the deal with the bats? Honestly, it should be Michael Richards who played Kramer, but we're not gonna have Michael Richards.
Let's be serious about this.
Yeah, and also we don't want bad blood on this movie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google The Laugh Factory. Just not good. Not good. Anyway, sorry, Noah. So what? Just anything that comes to mind. What was your favorite parts of the Batman?
Yeah, so I really liked the action scenes, which is a big part of why I wanted to see him become Batman. Like, you want to see like where these gadgets and moves come from, especially the car chase where he's chasing down the Penguin. That was a great car chase. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then I like the fight at the end where he knocks the guy to the ground and he says, "I am vengeance" as well. Like, yeah, and he realizes, like, why do I need vengeance? Like apparently this guy is vengeance, so here it is. Yeah. So yeah, and how about him leading his people out of the flood with the flare? That's right out of the old flood stories there.
It's I'll definitely talk a lot more of that scene, but
Yeah.
that was probably the best shot of the Batman
Yeah.
when he, lights up the flare and he looks away and then he just looks on as he leads everyone down the path as he accepts this light. And as you mentioned, Jessica, the way that reds were used, and going back to the first look teaser, he was heavily in red. So this was there very planned from the start.
It worked so well. It's
It's so
distinct. I
good.
think it's the most distinct cinematography I've ever seen in a Batman film. You see a shot from that, you're like, that's from the Batman.
I don't want it because there's so many superhero movies that I've seen a lot. I think it's one of the most distinct looking superhero movies that we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be one of those people that say all MCU movies look the same, but a little similar and like not as much risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this was like Chinatown, Seven, David Fincher 7, and like these new Hollywood, like late 70s movies look to it.
Mhm.
Very good. Jessica, what's also some of your moments?
No, I really love the action scenes. Like I said, when the music and the look came together for, in particular, the one where he takes the elevator up and then they're shooting him and it's dark and you're just illuminated by the gunfire. That was so good. That was an incredible action scene. But my favorite shot in the whole film was probably that end bit where he like the music swells and he jumps, then the explosions go above him and he just jumps down to that place. It's like goosebumps. I have this really weird thing when I'm watching films where if something is just so like you're awestruck by it, I'll nearly cry. Like it happened to me with the portal scene in Endgame, randomly in the Suicide Squad, like when something is just so like awesome I'm seeing on screen, like not even sad, that I'll nearly cry. I nearly cried on that moment. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. So yeah, the action that you mentioned, the Riddler scene. I think, is he called Paul Dano? Sorry, I'm not familiar with him. Is that his name? He plays the Riddler.
Paul Dano, Dano. I think it's Paul Dano, but if you want to put like an accent on it, I think it's chill enough.
Paul, I really like Paul.
Yeah, we know Paul. We know you.
Yeah,
We're on a first
Paul,
name basis.
friend of the show, Paul.
Alan, Robert, Zoe. No, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna call you Miss Kravitz.
Miss Kravitz. Have some respect.
No joke.
Yeah, he was fantastic as the Riddler. I don't know if I agree with Noah or not about the question mark thing, because it made him seem like just a really like sick serial killer type, like someone who could be in a Fincher movie as opposed to a superhero movie. But then I love the camp Batman stuff, so if he wanted to have question marks all over him, I'd be totally fine with that. That those Riddler moments where they're solving the puzzle and just that real detective feel, that was probably the best thing throughout the entire movie for me. Like that was very distinct. Like I said, I love that they went detective moments. Alfred and Gordon really felt like his partner, Batman's partner. And one last thing, because I'll forget, I'm not a huge fan of the like Playboy Bruce stuff. Like it just does nothing for me. I get that it's his disguise and he's supposed to be like, oh, you can't tell I'm Batman because I'm this type of rich person. But I like that they focused more on Batman on this than Bruce. And when they did, like I said, it was like that angsty, like dark, kind of melodramatic stuff going on with him. I think that's what made him a more distinct Batman and Bruce for me.
Now, just to touch on the Playboy persona, Jessica, is it more of like, do you think it's too over the top? Like, because there's the public Bruce Wayne that's usually like, he's a business leader, he's charmed, suave, like a little tipsy. And then there's like the over the top, like drunk Playboy. And of course, he does that so people don't take him seriously.
Yeah. I just
So,
don't find it very interesting. Like it's not a very interesting character trait to me. Like Clark Kent as Clark Kent and not Superman. Like to me, they feel like two distinct people, and I get that, like, which one's the mask and all that.
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne's just never been appealing to me when they go for that, and maybe it is for other people. I know some people were kind of a bit annoyed that they didn't go in that route in this film, but not for me. It worked for me trying something a little different in film anyway.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the criticism of like we didn't see Bruce a lot. And two things. One, I'm so happy with how much Batman we got.
Yeah.
And it's not like even though I don't mind like a lot of Bruce, and he suits up for a scene or two, and then he's Bruce, and he's Bruce, and he's Bruce, Batman. Like this was a Batman movie. And to touch upon like we don't see that public Bruce Wayne, this is just the first movie in I hate to call this a universe, but this whole separate franchise that Matt Reeves has, spin-off shows, a trilogy coming up. Like we will see him evolve, and not to that drunken playboy, but I think more of a leader,
Yeah.
which will be very interesting to think because early on in the movie, Alfred chastises Bruce of like, this is your father's legacy, or this is your parents' legacy. Show some respect. And then Bruce is like, no, no, no. Being Batman is my legacy. And now he's at this crossroads, and especially the end of like how Gotham is, I want to say in ruins, but it's definitely hurting. So just to touch, I have a lot of best moments.
Yeah.
I won't focus a ton on me, but Noah, you mentioned how the beginning fight, and I definitely agree. The fighting in this was amazing. Doesn't quite top that warehouse scene from Batman v Superman, but it's like damn near close, which is a great compliment in my eyes. But the lead up, and this felt like a detective story. And not only that, a detective movie of like the 40s, voiceover noir aspects of it, and how Bruce is describing like fear is a weapon, the use of the bat signal. And my favorite glimpse is like how Gotham criminals view Batman. Not like the big ups, just like the low lifes. Just when that signal goes, and the guy who's robbing the convenience store on the trap heads, he's trying to escape, and he looks down this alley. It's pitch black. He sees the signal, and he's looking, and just that Michael Cicino music, and it's like this, like it just builds up this fear. And even though this guy has a mask, you can just see like this. Oh no! I can't do it. Batman's right there, and all these little things of how scared they are of Batman. Amazing. That was like, that's it. That's Batman.
Yeah, and like right from the start, like you said, they were establishing that. Like, yep, people are shit
Yep.
scared of Batman. I was scared of Batman for a wee bit.
I was like a little scared, but I'm like, you're Gordon. I'll call you man. We're cool, right? Yeah. And you mentioned the riddles in this. Now, I'm kind of happy like Batman like immediately got it. It wasn't like a sequence like what? Okay, well actually we did get a bit of that. But just like these little things, and I think the first riddle was like, what does a dead man and a liar have something in common? Something like that, and the Batman immediately got it, like they both lie still. It's one of those like sick humor things. Going back to like the thumb drive.
Yeah. Sick humor. That would sum it up.
It
Well.
was.
Yeah.
And I think the best sequence of like figuring out the riddles. So, we can even talk about the funeral scene, but the aftermath, the bomb squad is surrounding the church, and all of a sudden you just hear the footsteps, no music, just boom, boom. Batman's there, and he's trying to figure out the Riddler FaceTime, which we'll go into like the Riddler's like use of technology because I feel like is Riddler a YouTuber? Remember the end, like he sees the final view, he's like, thanks guys for supporting me. Like I'm expecting like if you like this comment, just hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I wanna I want to thank my sponsor, Sponsor Us.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, twist.
Use
I'm
the
Literally.
promo code question. But just how like he FaceTimes Batman and he's like, oh, you came. It's like, all right, let's play this game. And just that like just tension of like, what was it, like 2 minutes? And it's like boom, boom. And it's that final one. And it's like, okay, who's the rat? And the DA is like, no, I'm gonna die with this. And he's so scared that boom. My heart was racing.
Very tense scene. And you're right about the use of technology. Like when certain films do it, it's just so cheesy. You're like, all right, you're putting live streaming and all in this. They actually did it in a way that didn't feel weird. Like, yeah, of course he's not there and he's video calling him about this secret. Like he doesn't want to get blown up.
And another good moment. And have you guys played Batman the Telltale series?
No.
No.
Sorry.
All right. So big spoilers for like the first 2 episodes. Because it kind of felt similar to oof. Sorry, we just had a snowstorm and it's pretty sunny out, so all the icicles are just shattering down. So I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, is Batman here? Just the sound. But anyway, so the Telltale series is so in the Bruce finds out that his parents aren't what he seems, and his father was a big part of the criminal organization. And going back to like that deception of Matt Reeves and the advertising, that's kind of like I'm one of those people like, ooh, what's that? What's that? And it's like Sins of the Father. And it's like, okay, Riddler is an orphan and all that, and trying to connect it. And it's like, that's what's wrong. It's just like the Telltale series. And I like how they paint the moment of Thomas is still a good man. He just made a mistake. And that shows how like John Turturro as Falcone, amazing, because he felt like that sly devil. And usually in the comics, just like that old school, like Godfather Italian gangster. But he kind of feels like that little skinny devil with like the pitchfork. And he's like, I'll help you, but you got to help me. And he has you. And just the whole criminal conspiracy of like how he had Gotham like in the palm of his hands. Crazy. But anyway, so Jessica, what is just shout out some moments you liked?
I think I'm gonna go off on just one I didn't like. I forgot to mention this.
Yeah,
Sorry
no
to bring
worries.
the podcast down. I'm sure you have loads more that you do like. It was
No worries.
it was their treatment of Annika, Catwoman's roommate. Like it was the only story beat I felt was off. It was like Catwoman was sad when they needed her to be, when they needed her to like cry when she's listening to the message, but yet she's just found her body and then minutes later she's flirting with Bruce. I found that really like it was the only like out of place like emotional beats of it all. I was like, what? Especially because I wasn't sure at the beginning whether they were in a relationship or not. I'm like, okay, you're flirting with Batman now after this. It was the only bit where I was like, okay, like you snap and you're like, okay, be emotional now because the scene needs you to be. That felt a little bit weird to me. And then pivoting to a really good bit, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was just incredible. The way they shot her when she was in, like, walking through the nightclub when Batman's in her ear, like, that was awesome. That's almost as memorable as, like, all the cool action scenes. The way they had her framed in the middle walking through that club. She just looks incredible as Catwoman. And she had some awesome action scenes as well. Not as good as the Batman, because obviously it's his film, but I liked her. I liked the dual motorcycles they had at the end, and then they went off on their separate paths. So I'm definitely wish Zoe Kravitz comes back as Catwoman.
100%. I would love to see if we're giving. Granted, we can see a lot of spinoffs. So the 2 that they currently announced is a Penguin spinoff show, limited series, and one that was going to be all about like the Gotham police, but now is going to be like basically like Arkham Asylum.
So much more interested in that.
All right, cool. And there was a great comic. It was like I think it was just Gothic centric. Can't even talk. I almost said like gothic. We're talking too
Gothic.
much about architecture and eyeliner, emo looks, which, by the way, Robert Pattinson can pull off. I cannot. So that's a negative on the movie. Anyway, Gotham Central dealt with like the police view on Batman. Really good run. If you definitely check that out. But yeah, all about Arkham Asylum, and it's going to be like this haunted house of how Matt Reeves said. Yes. Take whatever money I have. Take this, I don't know, take this Taco Bell hot sauce. Taco Bell, ring the bell.
Yeah, agreed. I can't wait. Like, I'm a bit like, I like the crime elements in this. I thought it fit really well with the tone they were going, but I'm way more interested in a Gotham Asylum spin-off with all those villains, which Noah said you agree, like they're the best part of Batman for me. Like maybe seeing some of their origin stories in there. I can't wait for it out of everything that's came from this.
And also another fun fact. So Zoe Kravis auditioned to be Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, but unfortunately, very horrible that the casting producer said she was, quote, too urban for the role.
God, I hate it when they put too urban there. Like, we all know what you mean. Like,
yeah, it's like, okay. And granted, Anne Hathaway, very underrated as Catwoman. And I'm upset of how this happened, because that is 100 reasons wrong and many more. But Zoe Kravitz, I don't want to say got revenge, but she got her moment, and she got to be in a much better Catwoman movie. As I mean, like, and halfway felt like Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I'm not aware of like her history and everything, but to me, when I think of Catwoman now, it'll be Zoe Kravitz. Like she did such a good job at just being a great character in this film.
Same. I mean, so many good little moments. The funeral scene, like the first time we actually saw like Bruce going out in the public persona.
With that haircut.
Again, I love it. Like I hope like he doesn't change. Like people say like he wants that, like, you guys seen Tenet?
Yeah.
Like that suave, like looking. I'm trying to model with my own hair, but I realize I don't have any hair. Why would I do that to myself?
Yeah, no, I agree. He doesn't need that hair. Like I like that his hair looked like that. That's the distinct Bruce right there.
For a second, I thought you said, "Yeah, I agree. You don't have much hair." I was like, "Oh, shot in the heart," and you're too late.
I wouldn't do
Jessica,
that to you.
You give my hair a bad name. Anyway, so many good moments. One little thing I like, I'm not going to say detective vision, but like the contact lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the look of it, of how these feel like somehow old school, but new school. Like this is a prototype of new technology, but because it's a prototype, it kind of looks old. And explains why Batman walks so slow, because he's trying to analyze like boom, 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 boom. And just like the circular, like red look to it. Super good. Other than that, Noah, any other moments reach out to you?
Moments. So I think we've covered just about all of it. I did really like Zoe as Catwoman. I definitely agree. I'll see her as Catwoman for forever now. I do want to shout out. Have you seen the Harley Quinn cartoon on DC Universe?
Yes, and it's now on HBO Max. So if you have that, definitely check it out.
Yeah, that's a hilarious show. Like I forgot to mention that earlier with my history of Batman. I love that show. It's so funny.
It's so good. Jessica, have you seen Harley Quinn?
No, I don't know how to watch it over here in the UK, but I really want to watch it. Got a lot of great voice actors in it as well, and I've heard it's great.
Very good. What? Oh, so going back to the first scene. So I love the whole sequence of like how Batman and people are saying this, no one really confirmed. Like, you know how like he injected himself? I thought it was just adrenaline, but people thought it was venom, the drug that Bane in the comic uses.
Actually,
Yeah, you know, super strong.
Yeah.
That would be. I trust Matt Reeves to be like, all right, what are you gonna do with it? And just not like a simple like, oh, we just included it like as an Easter egg. Like knowing Matt Reeves, like I bet like that will come up in the future. But anyway, so
No, well, like
and he,
I think you're right. I think that's another way of like they left it ambiguous. Like a worse film would have been like, yeah, I just injected myself with adrenaline and that's how I did it, or I just inject myself with venom. We don't know what he injected himself with.
what is that? It's a yada yada, but also known
Yeah,
as venom.
yeah.
What? But meanwhile, I would be like such an idiot in the theater. Like I'll be like you, Jessica, like near crying. I'm like, you use venom. They mentioned it like in the comics. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
even
yeah,
done
you're
with
right. That
Jessica. I you nearly cry. I cry.
no, it's just like obviously I cry. Like I remember in Avengers Endgame, I watched it like 4 times, and every time, um, Wanda and Clint talk to each other at the end. Like that was the moment where I'm like, oh my god, this is so sad. But it's like when they do big action stuff, it's a weird thing. I don't understand when they do it so well. My brain's like, you need to cry right now.
It's that I kind of understand what you mean. It's like that overwhelming like spectacle.
Yeah.
And even though we're not talking about video games, do you have any like any video game moments that like make you nearly cry from like the spectacle?
Oh my god. I don't know what yes, actually. I was watching somebody else play Final Fantasy 15. I hadn't got to this moment yet. I won't spoil it. There's just this incredible like summon fight, like a famous summon who you have to fight, and it is like cosmic horror. It's just so massive compared to you. That's a moment where I nearly cried by how awesome a video game was. I've probably cried emotional tears in video games more than I have in films actually.
I'll go one step further. Like I've cried more at movies and TV and comics and any other media, but real life, I'm like, yeah.
See him, Mark. Maybe we should go see a psychologist.
Noah, this is a space. This is a safe space right here. Do you cry like us?
There are a few scenes I have an emotional tie to off the top of my head. In the Smash Bros. Brawl Subspace Emissary, when they're invading that portal with the Hailbird warship, that's a really good scene, and I definitely have a response to Martin Septim in any scene he's in. You know, I'm the Elder Scrolls guy. Let's see.
Any Halo
That,
stuff?
that's all I can really think of for video games.
Oh, well, the Halo music, that makes me want to cry
hey,
every
yeah,
time.
there's some good Halo moments. Yeah.
I heard Noah is gonna cry at the Halo TV show, but I don't think they're happy tears.
Well, we'll see. I don't want to poo-poo the show before I've seen it, but they have not called and asked me to dub Master Chief's voice, so that kind of makes me sad. But
they still got time. They still got time.
Yeah. Yeah, they could, if they don't want to fly me to Washington, they could send me to the Bethesda studio, and I could shake hands with Todd Howard.
Easy.
Use
Yeah.
his sound booth.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, how did we get to this moment? Oh, that's right. So
Todd Howard is Batman.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, Todd Howard is rich. I can see that.
Yeah.
Not as good as your Larry David one, but
Yeah.
because I can't really fan cast like who's Todd Howard's Joker. The only person I can come to mind is Reggie from Nintendo, even though he retired. I don't know. But we are here not to podcast about fan casting the video game Batman. That is next week. But anyway, so he injects himself with maybe it's venom, maybe it's just simple adrenaline. And he's beating up this guy. They pull him off, and he's like, "Who are you?" And the criminals just says 2 words: "I'm vengeance." And there's a lot of moments where Bruce has to do like some self-reflection. I think with Alfred, he does that. I think a big one was like I mentioned earlier in the first half of that interrogation scene when he looks away and he thinks about like, oh God, like I did have it good. Or at least that was my interpretation. And for a long time, Bruce was just beating up criminals. Yes, to save Gotham, but it's more of like to deal with his own trauma. So then it leads to him going down, sacrifice himself. He's still alive, and he rescues the newly elected mayor and all the people in the group, and he's seen as a symbol of hope. And he brings out this girl, and I thought it was the mayor's son the first time, but the second view, I'm like, okay, that's someone else. So he's carrying this girl to the I don't know what they call like the hospital bed, like for the chopper. And he puts her down and she reaches out, not in fear, because in the contrast of like when he saved that guy, he's like, whoa, don't hurt me, man. But she reaches out like for comfort and he looks down at her hand, like unsure what to do for a split second. And he takes his own hand on hers to comfort her. And he doesn't let go until she's all the way up until she can't like reach. That is the moment when he becomes the Batman. As not like, I'm just going to beat up scum. He can actually see himself as... So the bat signal is a signal of fear. Maybe it can be a signal of hope. That felt like the most, in terms of life action, that's Batman. In a movie where I said a lot of times, that's Batman. For 2 reasons. 1, it felt like the comics, and 2, that is a fact. That right there on screen is a Batman.
He ain't lying.
Yeah, I'm not lying. That's holy facts, Batman. So I think, even though I'll be so mad after we do the podcast of like, wait a second, I forgot to mention that. I just want to see a Gordon Batman show. Just like a CSI, they just solve crimes each week. Even though I hate those kind of shows, you
Just as
put
long as
those
it's...
2 characters, I'm in.
Yeah, as long as it's Jeffrey Wright, I'm totally in.
And Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. Him
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, of course, Jeffrey Wright.
Hmm.
But I think, is there anything else that you want to mention about like the best moments in the Batman? We talked about the score, cinematography, all the scenes, fighting the Batmobile chase. Oh, and did you guys see it in like RPX, IMAX, any like huge, humongous screen?
Yeah, I saw it in the biggest one I could. It's Omnimax, which is their version of an IMAX. It was incredible.
So when Batman, Gordon, and Catwoman go to the Penguin's hideout, and then all the chaos, and then all of a sudden, vroom. I felt that theater shake, and you don't see anything, and you just see this blue light, and just like the build up to the Batmobile, which at first, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's like a Fast and the Furious muscle car. But this felt like, okay, this Batman would have this car. And it's definitely the best Batmobile chase I've ever seen.
It was really cool. I read this thing beforehand, and it's like scenes you can go to the bathroom in, and they mentioned this one. I was like, absolutely not. Am I going during a Batmobile car chase?
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, any other moments you want to mention?
Like you said, I think I've probably forgotten a bunch of them now that we're mentioning it, but just my favorite, like out of everything, was the soundtrack. Like I will be listening to that for years to come.
I've listened to that soundtrack so much. The first track, and it's that, but the Batman, just his theme, and a lot of other different things like the Riddler, like it felt like that haunting choir was also like a story beat with like the orphanage and that choir. And the Catwoman had definitely like 30s, 40s noir, like woman coming like late night, like the femme fatale into the detective's office,
Yeah.
smoke everywhere.
Yeah, like this isn't the same movie without that soundtrack.
Exactly. So I just wanted to mention a few comics. If you love the Batman and if you want to like dive in more in like the tone, one, definitely check out Batman Year One. And yes, it is an origin story for Bruce becoming Batman, but this is more of like a Gordon origin story. They're both doing narrators, and it focuses on Gordon's first year in Gotham and into that police department, and Bruce becoming Batman. Very well done. If you like the relationship between Batman and Gordon, definitely check it out. Another origin story that the New 52 did, long story with that, they basically rebooted the whole DC universe. So they showed the origin story for that one, and that dealt with Batman taking on the Riddler. And just like that one, he floods the city, he shuts off the power. Really good stuff. There's a lot of good Catwoman solo series. Batman, The Long Halloween / Batman Dark Victory. Very, very iconic. It has amazing mysteries. And if you like, Noah, you mentioned like you love the Batman Rogues Gallery. This has basically every rogue member that you can think of. Really good stuff. There's a lot more, but just for now, that's what I would go with. So I want to turn this to you, Noah, because I didn't know what you meant in the group chat, but I'm very curious about this question. Did you mention what? Do you want to explain this to the listeners? Your question?
I had an idea for a question we could answer is what Batman villain would you want to play in a movie if you were going to be cast? And this one may surprise you, maybe not. Believe it or not, I'd go with the Joker. The one time I'd go with the popular opinion. I love the idea of playing. It's like my Darth Cannabis idea. I love the idea of playing characters that seem mentally off, that maybe there is reason to their madness. Like I love that kind of character. So I'd be the guy that would attempt to unseat Heath Ledger as the best Joker.
So I thought you meant like, which Batman villain would you want to be like? And I was like, Noah, you sicko, none of them. They're villains. I'm like, I guess Poison Ivy, because I get to be like, I love plants. I get to be sultry. And I think I would be good with red hair.
You could do that anyway.
Oh, Jessica.
Yeah, come on the podcast next week with just flowing long red hair. Poison ivy all over you, rashes everywhere.
I'm like, do I have any plants? I'm like, Taco Bell sauce? Oh, well.
This is not sponsored by Taco Bell sauce, by the way.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
There's #goals. But Jessica, what villain would you want to play as?
I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Like, that
Genius.
is... That's just being a kid playing in that extremely camp Batman universe.
Hey, Jessica, can you answer me this question? What killed the dinosaurs?
I don't know.
What? No! Come on, that's Mr. Freeze. What killed the dinosaurs?
Oh. I'm
Ice Age.
I haven't seen this since I was a kid. Don't know why I didn't remember that scene.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
I remember him doing it. I don't remember his amazing pun.
Yeah, his performance is like, take every ice / cold pun. That's his performance.
That's why I liked it so much.
And he got paid $25 million for it.
See, I could do that. Pay me less, I'll do it.
Pay me $25. I'll say cold puns.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid for this podcast, and I can say as many puns. Unless we get sponsored by Taco Bell hot sauce.
And they're like, yeah, just leave the puns out, please.
Can you just, hey, Mark, can you just say the script? That's no deviations. Just say the script. What would I want to play? I would want to play the Riddler, but more of like from the Batman Arkham games.
Ooh.
I don't know. That's actually like fascinating. If I want to be a serious thespian, I definitely butchered that word. I don't know why I try to be a big boy and use big boy words. If I want to be a serious theater actor, then like Mr. Freeze, not the not Jessica's version, but just like the tragic nature of it is really compelling, and maybe Condiment King.
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
I only bring this up because Robert Pattinson, granted, he's probably joking because he's very jokey / sarcastic in his interviews, but they asked like, "Who's your favorite Batman villain?" And he mentioned like, well, in the animated series, and he was also in the comics as well, they had a character called the Condiment King, and he would just shoot mustard and ketchup and condiments at Batman.
Well,
He's in the
you've got
Harley
hot
Quinn
sauce.
show.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Actually, you know what would be a good one? And we were supposed to do this. I'm part of this potential D&D game, but it's going to be placed in the DC universe, and our characters will be villains, but they're not even A-list, they're not even B-list, they're like the D-list. There's this character called Onomatopoeia.
Man, I love comic book villains.
Yes, but he's actually very serious because he's just this cold-blooded killer, like this hitman, and he'll just go bang. I feel like you can make him like threatening / cool. I feel like that would be a good addition, not in a movie, but like in an HBO Max show. I feel like in this world they can pull it off. But yeah, good question, Noah. Thanks. But even though it's not from the comics and TV show, I would like to play Darth Cannabis in a Batman movie. Matt
Noah's
Reeves
bagged
is
in
so
it.
good, he can make it. People are asking it. Dozens of people are asking it, Jessica. So one last thing, Jessica, you got a little surprise for us.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of bringing like some trivia to the podcast. And in honor of the Batman this week, I've constructed a riddle. Took me all of 5 minutes, guys. To guess the Batman character. And if Noah and Mark can work it out together, I'll give them 3 points. And if they can't, I'll have 3 points. If you use 1 hint, you get 2 points. If you use 2 hints, you get 1 point. So that is.
Yeah, I'm in.
Are you all okay for that? Actually, forget about those last 2 bits. You can have the hints if you need them. I'm
as
a
long
kinder
as I
Riddler.
don't die like the DA and explode on camera, I think I'm cool with that.
That's my next surprise.
Okay. What?
So this is a character from the Batman universe, like from Batman, not DC. Okay. I control sights of the brain's making, yet I can't feel what I'm faking. Who am I?
So it's going to be one of the characters in Lego Batman that can do the question mark doors. Like, let's see, it's Scarecrow, the Riddler. I think what's the lightning bug's name?
What's the Firefly?
Yeah, I think it might be him.
Wait, can you repeat that again?
I control sights of the brain's making, yet I can't feel what I'm faking. Who am I?
So
I think it's Scarecrow.
Yeah. Like actually, the Scarecrow works better because he can't feel it.
And you can't fake fear.
I think you want to go with Scarecrow.
I'm gonna go Scarecrow. Final answer.
Scarecrow.
Final answer.
Final answer.
You guys got it. It's the Scarecrow.
Hey, I don't die.
You go. Yeah. I'll deactivate those timers now. Well done, guys.
Use Lego Batman to solve every riddle.
Yeah, well done. You mentioned Scarecrow straight off. I was like, crap. Yeah. Well done, guys. 3 points for Noah and Mark.
Yay!
Woo. Next
Just one?
week we might have like a different sort of trivia thing. That was just in honor of the Batman.
Awesome. So, very good stuff. Jessica, Noah, anything else you want to mention about the Batman before we sign off?
I am vengeance.
Well said.
Yeah, playing Batman would be fun. Like I said, villains, but I'd love to be Batman too.
I would love to be Alfred. I get to be British and sassy, but sly. Like, isn't that the dream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who you actually want to be in the Batman films. You want to be Alfred, except when he's getting blown up. You don't want to be Alfred.
But guess who lives?
Woo!
Yeah. I'm not in the movie that much, but I'm in the sequel.
Yeah.
Jessica, anything else you want to mention before we wrapped up?
I think you should all go and read Mark's spoiler-free review, even if you've seen the film. It was a very good review. Broke down exactly what's so fantastic about the film.
Stop. Actually, don't read it. All right. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our Batman spoiler podcast. We had a ton of fun. We didn't get blown up, Noah. That's good.
Yeah.
And I
mean, not yet.
I got to nerd out about Batman, and we got to talk about Taco Bell hot sauce. Even though I've not opened it, and I feel like it's just going to be okay, but who knows? So
more on that next week.
Stay tuned. Same KeenGamer podcast. Same, well, maybe not the same KeenGamer time. They used to do that in the like same bat channel, same bat time. It's like, I mean, we could be off by like an hour, maybe a day.
Does not seem ring date.
Exactly. It doesn't really rhyme. It's like you can't have like same KeenGamer podcast and then have like 2 paragraphs of being like, well, technically, doesn't work. But
time is of the essence, Robin.
Love you, Burt Ward. He was the guy who played Robin. But anyway, please check out our site, KeenGamer.com. There are so many good articles all about video games. Jessica's been writing about Elden Ring. I need all the guides.
I hope it's been helpful. I did a lot of research into that stuff. So yeah, thank you, Mark.
Well, guess who hasn't died? No one, because you're bound to die in Elden Ring. But guess who hasn't died with no dignity? This guy. But honestly, there's so many good contacts about video games, movies, TV shows. We just had a Peacemaker. Speaking of DC, a season 1 review. That's really good. And please rate this podcast 5 stars on Spotify. Really helps, and it drives us up in the charts. And we just want to talk to everyone. That's all. So thank you for listening. This is Mark O'Callahan from the KeenGamer podcast, and we are out of here.
Bye.